Dude, is there three things in your life that causes you regret? You're like, I know I shouldn't do that. I know I should have that conversation. I know I should bridge that relationship. I know I should take that action. I'm being a loser right now, not doing that. Would
Yeah.
you have a couple of
I,
things? Just that mentality, just like, man, one's
yeah.
better than zero. It doesn't need to be perfect, just move the
Yeah.
needle. I remember just looking at myself and I'm like, you're not taking nearly enough risk as you should. You're
Yeah.
playing too small. You are attached to your life right now.
Alrighty, guys. Today I'm with Joe Jacob, who shares his journey from being an absolute powerhouse of a sales rep in tech sales to transitioning into entrepreneurship. He's now the founder of Tech Sales U, a company helping people transform their careers in tech sales. In today's session, we dig into key attributes in achieving success, both personally and professionally, and also go a little bit more philosophical. We talk about creating the realities that you want, embracing both the challenges and the opportunities when it comes to personal growth. This is an absolutely packed session. You can't miss out. Let's go. Joe, first question. You continue to be a top performer as a sales rep and as an individual contributor. So, I did the little spiel before this about you. They know quite a bit. I know you quite well because I used to be a sales rep. I used to be an IC.
Yeah.
I know how
Next to each
important it
other.
is. Yeah. And dude, I know how important it is for you to have both depth of quota attainment and breadth. And you've gotten both.
Yeah.
How are you able to do this?
Dude, the part of it was just blind luck, right? Like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I don't mean blind luck in terms of like deals just came to me, but I mean
Yeah.
blind luck in terms of I'm just lucky I ended up at Gartner. I'm
Yeah.
lucky we had the same crazy bastard manager, right?
Yeah.
To Thomas Malott, if you watch this, man, like, I just got lucky to end up with great mentors that from a very early point in my career, like, just guided me in the right direction, right? And the background story was, man, when I landed at Gartner, my manager at the time actually got fired, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to mention his name. He was a nice guy. And this was before I landed in Tom's team. And man, my manager got fired. I was reporting directly to the VP, who we both know, Steve.
Yep.
And man, I had no idea what the hell was going on because I was trying to use the Gartner playbook. But the problem was so much of like the playbook that they had, man, was not tailored to our part of the business. Because as you remember, like, we were in like this little niche part of the business.
Yeah.
And so everything changed, man, when I got lucky, when that first mentor came into my life and Tom was just like, right, whatever you think you know from training, dump that because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Here is the playbook.
Yeah.
And man, he just drilled that playbook into my daily operating rhythm and how I executed. And I just got lucky, dude. Like, I got lucky that I got him, because if I didn't get him, I would have probably flamed out and quit and picked another role, and my career would have gone a completely different direction. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude, honestly, it was just it was he just listened to what he had to say. He was a harsh mentor, but I executed. And I just stayed the course, man. I just did the work. And I was just like gritty, I just
Yeah.
took all the shit that came. And we both know the amount of shit that guy used to shovel out.
Yeah.
I just stayed the course, dude. I got lucky and I stayed the course,
Yeah. But all right, so that was Gartner, and I know that you crushed it at Zscaler and you crushed it at CrowdStrike afterwards. There were obvious. It's not always luck, and if it's just always luck, then I think every lucky guy should be in sales. It is always partially luck.
Yeah.
But I know that you are humble enough not to give you, like, you're not giving yourself that enough credit. What else allowed you to be that successful throughout the rest of your career? You took those learnings from Thomas. What did you do with it?
I flat out refused to quit.
Okay. It's the grit, right? You said grit.
Now
Yeah.
Flat out refused to quit. Like, I don't know if it was just like stupidity or just stubbornness, man.
Yeah.
I just refused to freaking quit. Like,
Yeah.
I think a big part of that was also just having some sort of like thing outside of work. Like, I picked up powerlifting in 2020, and just the discipline of that and having a coach and constantly and consistently showing up and sticking to a program, I just like flat out refused to quit,
Yeah.
and I think, was it pleasant, man? No. Jesus Christ, no. Like there was like I still like can flash back now and remember to like 2019 and 2020 were some of like the most uncomfortable years.
Yeah.
2021, hard as hell. 2022, like I had some of my best selling years, 2021, 2022, but like they were like hard fought,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hard fought. And honestly, it was just that mentality, man, just like flat out refusing to quit.
Well, you know what? I sat next to you when we used to work at Gartner together, and this is a small part of what you're saying, but I do recall that when it came to objection handling, it was funny as fuck just watching you because you're right, you don't fucking quit. I could hear we have our call blitz, we have our call sprints. Your typical sales rep, you kind of handle one or two objections, you do it by the book, and you're like, okay, I'll leave it. But I can see you kind of walking around in circles, and I know you're still talking to the same guy. So
Yeah.
look, that was a very practical example of you not quitting. So I'm proving that you do not quit. But aside from that, man, maybe if you take like a step back from just cold calling and not quitting,
Yeah.
explain a little bit more or expand a little bit more by what you mean by not quitting. Oh, well, what does that actually mean in terms of working and the way that you think?
Yeah, man. I'll just give you like a visceral example, right? And
Yeah,
by the way, dude, like, I'm not saying this is a healthy thing. Like,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
I'm not glorifying this. I'm just saying I had no choice. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, it's the same thing that helped me kind of transition into entrepreneurship now.
yeah,
And walk away from like a really good life, man. Like,
yeah, yeah,
like all of those years in sales helped me just build a really good life. But, dude, like, when I say I refused to quit, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I remember in 2022, CrowdStrike, it
yeah.
was, I went on to have one of my best selling years of my life.
This is like right after COVID as well, right? Or during COVID?
Right after COVID.
Right after COVID, yeah.
Right after COVID, man. And I was pretty much one of, if not the region's top mid-market sales reps. And I was my second year in cyber sales, and I ended up doing I still think no one's got that record, the only 5-year deal ever done at JPAC. I still remember when I was trying to quote it, my manager was like, I don't think we can quote 5 years. I'm like, well, you better figure it out
Yeah,
because we're going to sign them for 5. And
yeah,
and I think it was to the tune of around 1.2, $1.3 million
yeah.
across
Nice.
the 5 years. And I still remember, man, like, during that year, I actually ended up missing my target for 2 quarters. So I
Yep.
missed Q1 just by a bit. I missed Q2, and then Q3, man, I ended up doing something like 300 and something percent. I basically did more in revenue than 4 of my next colleagues combined. 60% of the team's number in a quarter. I went from like 30% of quota attainment for the year to 110% in like 1 quarter. Like it was like I like kind of blew my mind on what was possible,
Right,
and and
right.
and also blew my mind on what was possible commission wise, because I was like,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
crap, I made
Yeah,
a
those are some big numbers.
I was like, man, I was like, I just
Yeah,
did
yeah.
6 figures in commissions in a
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah.
Like, but man, I still remember when I say I flat out refused to quit. Um, I remember the quarter before that, man. Like, I had probably one of the worst days of my life in terms of sales. I'd lost a deal. I'd had another deal stall, and I remember being at the gym that night, and I was
Mm,
I was training with my powerlifting coach, and early again, I'm not saying this is healthy. Earlier this day, man, I actually had to go to Macquarie Eye Hospital because I had blood in my eye,
yeah,
and that night I was under the squat bar, just probably putting a bit of pressure on my
yeah,
eye, not
yeah, yeah.
but like that's what I meant. Like like I just didn't know when to stop because I
Yep.
was like, what else do I do? Like, do I just
Mm,
stop now? Do I give up on my goals? Like, and that's, I think when I say flat out refuse to quit, man, there's this thing that I carried with me during those years, and I don't carry it with me as much now, but it's this idea, bro, that one is better than zero.
Mm,
one is better than zero. If
mm,
I show up today and I just move the needle one, that's better than me
mm,
not showing up and doing nothing. And
100%.
if I have enough days, man, where one is better than zero,
Mm,
that compounds, right? Because
yeah,
some days, if you go like, if we have a rating of, 0 out of 100, in terms of energetic and results, achieved for the day. Am I showing up with energy and am I achieving results? Man, I can have days where I show up and it's just 20%, but it still beats zero. I
mm,
can have days where I show up and it's 50%, but it still beats zero. And then I'm going to have days where I show up and it's 100%,
yeah,
right? And I'm just emptying the clip on that day. But compounded over time, I just realized I'm like, I don't have to be all that smart as long as I show up with a good plan and I
mm,
just nudge it forward. One is better than zero. I just have that mentality, and that just compounds over time. And that's, man, what's allowed me, like in the last 5 years, like, like if I look at what has changed and how much things have changed, man, it's just that mentality. Like
yeah,
that's what not quitting looks like, right? Is just, can I just show up today and just hammer on one thing and just move that forward? And
yeah,
if that's all, man, if that's all, if I need to just tap out and watch Netflix for the rest of the day after I've
yeah,
done that 1 hour,
yeah,
I take that hour. I take that hour,
yeah,
and hopefully the next day I can show up and I can put in two. But even like that one
yeah.
hour still beats 0 hours.
Yeah, I completely feel you, dude. Because I think that that's the difference between exceptional people and people who are just doing average, right? People who are okay with just taking days off.
Yeah.
And you're right, honestly, like you cannot romanticize that 1%. It's so shit, right? Like you are, I don't know, you're hungover, you've had a shit day, you've got a mental breakdown, and putting it as a practical example, like you said, it could just be sending out 2 emails on time for your prospect or your client that you said you were gonna do. That is
Yeah.
it. That takes such a small mental effort. But again, you're right. That 1%, bro, that compounds. And then one day, dude, you rock up and you're right. You're at 90%. You're at 110%.
Yes.
And you are gonna be so fucking happy you showed up, right? And you decided to take that 30 minutes out of your day to move the needle a little bit, to be
Yes.
able to get, the future you now at optimal performance to
Yes.
perform.
Bro, 100%, man. I'll give you an example of that 1%, man. Like, I remember when we were at Gartner and I'd come off the back of a shit quarter and I was like just annoyed, dude. And I remember I was making cold calls, man. I was in the boardroom making cold calls, and I remember I watched everyone leaving. It was like 4:45, maybe 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
Everyone was leaving, and I was in that room, and I was like a dog with a bone. I was just irritated. And I remember I was just like, one more call, one more call. And I remember, dude, there was a company called FTS Group,
yeah,
and that was a deal that I closed that quarter. And it was the start of the quarter. I called them. And I
yeah,
remember I called the guy who had stepped in to become like a basically replacement CEO. I didn't know this.
yeah,
He still had a GM title,
yeah,
Paul something or other. And I remember I called Paul and he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The old CEO, Steven, he's gone. Yeah, he didn't make the cut, but I'm doing interim now. Actually, it's funny you called. I want to talk to you guys, and I know Neil McMurtry." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Huh,
You know,
okay."
you know our guy,
Yeah,
and your
and
ears are getting perky. Yeah,
yeah, and he was like, "Let's set up a meeting. I want to chat to you guys." And I remember, man, that it was just that one is better than zero
mm,
mentality. For
yeah,
some reason, I'm like, just get in that room and
yeah,
just book a meeting today. Like, because I had that rule at Gartner. I was like, book one every day. I was like, just get one on the board every day. And I remember I got that one for the day, and that turned into a deal like
yeah,
2 and a bit months later. And it was a nice deal too. It was a chunky piece of business.
yeah,
But yeah, dude, it was just that mentality, just like, man,
yeah,
one's better than zero. It doesn't need to be perfect, just move the
yeah.
needle.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy that feeling, right? Like if it's kind of because you decided to stay back and you decided to continue making cold calls, right? Like you're fucking pounding the table and you're feeling shit,
Yes.
but because you had that call and you spoke to him, and he said, "Hey, this is now an opportunity." When
Yes.
you hung up, I can imagine how you felt. Not necessarily because like, oh, this is another opportunity. It's the I fucking decided to spend just that little bit extra time, just like getting through it, all right, pushing through, and this is what I got, and
Yes.
that stays with you, man.
Yes. Yeah, bro, it's like universal laws, man. And like this is kind of a tough concept. Sometimes people don't get it, but I know a lot of entrepreneurs do kind of get it, and it gets a little bit woo-woo, but I genuinely do believe, man, it's like we get tested, right? And it's like anytime I've wanted something, I've always been tested. Like
Mm.
right now, right now, I'm getting lean, I'm dropping weight. I wanted to just, shred a bunch of body fat. And it's funny, man, I sort of get tested every day because my housemate, my business partner and my housemate, we live together. He's got a super fast metabolism and he just
Yep.
orders McDonald's every day. Like, I'm like, this was from last night. He leaves the damn wrappers here. Right. And every day, man, I get
Yeah.
tested, because I'm like, well, my goal is
Yeah.
I'm over there eating tuna and rice, and
Right.
he's there eating a
Yeah.
freaking Angus burger in front of me, and
Yeah.
I'm just smelling this delicious goodness,
Yeah.
right? But there's something about like not breaking, and it's like
Yeah.
not breaking and staying the course. It's like the universe just rewards me more
Mm,
for
mm, mm.
my efforts, man. So
Yeah.
I believe in that, dude.
And I also bet that you're looking at your roommate thinking he's the devil at the moment as well.
He is he's telling me he's the devil, man. I'm like, I hate you right now, dude. I hate you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely feel that. Dude, you mentioned something that was quite interesting, and I think is a really good segue into where I want to take the next question. We're talking about you mentioned being a high performing IC, right? And I know this as well. If you're a high performing IC, you can easily earn 200 to 400K annually, excluding stock options, by the way,
Yep.
excluding stock options.
Yep.
So you were doing well, so cash probably wasn't an issue, right? Tell me why you pivoted into what you're doing today or pivoted into your business. Because
Yeah.
like we know if you're a top performing sales rep, things are
Yeah.
gravy. We'll putting kind of that mental strain to the side because I'm never gonna like hide that. That's huge. That's a big topic on its own, and it
Yes.
should always be known and
Yeah.
spoken about. But if you put that aside for a second, talk to me why you decided to go all in on your business when you were cashing in your in your
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah, dude, and yeah, this is a tough one to explain to someone that hasn't maybe gotten to like enterprise sales, but like
Mm.
to give people context, like I was a mid-market rep at CrowdStrike and
Yeah,
I was out earning most of the enterprise guys.
yeah.
Like
You hear that pretty
I
often, actually. It's the top enterprise dogs, they are crushing it.
yes.
But the majority of enterprise, they're not making as much as the top performing mid market guys.
Yeah, majority of enterprise, man, they don't do well at all.
Yeah,
And I didn't have to move, man. Like I didn't
yeah.
have to move. I didn't have to go to Zscaler. Even at Zscaler, dude, like to give people context, on my first year when my shares vested, that was close to 100 grand
Mm.
of just
Just there,
bam
yeah,
in
yeah,
out, and it like for nothing, like for
yeah,
just signing and saying, yeah, I'll
yeah,
come to you guys, right?
yeah,
Like it's yeah, for people that haven't yet kind of gotten to those levels, like man, it's real money. Like
yeah,
it's real money for corporate land.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I asked myself the question as well, like why the fuck did you go? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, but honestly, me too sometimes.
Yeah, no. Look, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
The thing is, man. So I went through a journey really rapidly, right? And I thought that making that amount of money was what was going to make me happiness, right? And so,
Mm,
I just did it really fast. I was like, okay, well, from Gartner, I just like took the lessons, accelerated, went to CrowdStrike, set myself up really well, invested in property, got my own pad, lived the lifestyle. Like, I did all of that really quickly,
mm,
and I
mm,
thought that would give me meaning.
mm.
And man, I had like when I say I had a good life. Like I basically lived like the dream bachelor existence. Like I
Yeah.
made great money. I had investment properties squared away. That was all full positively geared. I had my own pad in Sydney that was sick.
Mm,
Was driving around in my convertible. My
mm,
social life was nuts. Like
mm,
I basically kind of had the unlock.
mm, mm.
Like my life was fantastic. And
Yeah.
and dude, I still felt empty.
Mm,
And that was it. Like I still remember I would have days and I'd wake up in my nice apartment in Sydney, which you know how expensive Sydney is to
mm.
rent. And I lived like quite close to the city
Yeah.
by myself. And like, I
Mm,
just felt bored and I felt empty. And I would drive into work in my convertible and I would still feel bored. and I would feel empty, and I
Yeah.
just felt uninspired, bored, and empty. And like I did that enough days that I felt like this just doesn't feel right. Like if I'm like I basically got to a point where I was like, I'm more excited for my weekends than I am for my weekdays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm excited just to like, you know, socialize on the weekends. I'd have like wild weekends. I'd go from like I'd go to like drive to like six parties, like,
Mm.
car full of girls, like
Yeah.
I was more excited for that than I
Right.
was for like my mission. And that's when I
Yeah.
knew I'm like, this isn't
Mm.
really doing it for me. And that was the catalyst, man. Like it was early 2024. I had at this point started to foray into property development, which was my
Yep.
first kind of piece of entrepreneurship, even though property entrepreneurship is a little bit funny to kind of more traditional business
Mm.
because it's
Mm.
very lumpy. Like you put a whole bunch of cash down, this, and then you develop the project and then you sell the project, but you're carrying risk the whole time. So I did that. That gave me a little kick. Like I was doing
Mm.
that part time with work, and man, I felt alive again. I was
Yeah.
like, I was driving out to sites. I was scouting deals in Rudy Hill, which is quite far from the city.
Yeah.
I found this deal. I negotiated it. I got it 270K under market value because the real estate
Mm.
agent was
Mm.
garbage. Put it under contract. Like I just did this whole thing, man. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
The motions just got you going. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
alive again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was working harder than I'd ever worked.
Yeah.
I was redlining it super hard. I was near exhaustion, but I'm like, cool, I feel jacked up and alive again. Like I feel good. And look, that business didn't work out, thankfully. I'm glad. But just that feeling of being alive again, man, that's what I wanted. That's
Yeah.
what got me to forego corporate, leave Sydney, leave my life behind, move to Vietnam, be a digital nomad, set up this business. Now I'm scaling it. Like I didn't have to do any of that. I'm not making nearly
Yeah.
anywhere as close as much money as I was making back
Yeah.
then, but I feel way better,
Yeah.
and the money will
Fulfillment.
come. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I resonate with that story quite a bit because I think we were on a pretty similar journey, right? Like for me, I thought the same thing. First job out of uni and first sales job, I kind of had already the plan in my head, and the plan sounded exactly like yours. I want to make a lot of money, right? And at that time, getting to like a personal net worth of 1 million was my goal, right? This was in my early 20s, and I was in sales, and I knew that sales was going to get me there,
Yeah.
right? And early in your career, sales is so fucking good, right? And so I would never tell anybody not to get into sales, right? Because dude, you have a great time
Yes, you
in
do.
sales. Yes, you do. You can see the two DJ laughters. It's implied. It's implied. It's
For
implied you have a
anyone
great time in
watching,
sales.
there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
special
Yeah.
moments going on
Yeah,
here.
yeah. You like, and once you get into tech sales specifically, you understand, and
Oh
then
yeah.
you'll see why we were laughing so much. But for
Oh
now, we'll put that aside. We had like I had the same goals, and at the same, my mission was as arbitrary as yours, right? I wanted to make a lot of money, and I thought that was gonna make me happy, and that's what I did. Like my career was SMB sales, mid market, let's get into enterprise, and just like that in terms of timeline, right? Increase the salary, increase bonuses, better deals, bigger commissions, like you.
yeah.
And I remember that when we were at Templify, I was one of the top performing reps, and dude, the whole company got let go, right? Whole company, like from director to SDR, and that was wild. If anything, it made me feel better because it wasn't me, it was us, right? But I actually felt a sense of relief as well because I was like, dude, I was just slaving away, and I knew that I don't have that catalyst exact day where I woke up and I felt fuck, this sucks, but I felt a sense of relief when we got let go. Right, I got my big paycheck, and dude, I had great references. I could have easily just gone back to that next enterprise AE role
Yep.
and just been
Yep.
like, all right, we're back on. And now these days they're paying like what 300, 400K OTE,
Yep.
right? It's easy, all right. It's easy on paper, right? But like you, it's kind of like it's in hindsight, and it's I guess you've gotten to a point where you can look back and say it. So it's very hard to kind of describe it to people who haven't gone through the motions yet. But I completely resonate with you because I've gone through the same motions, and I felt less fulfilled in sales as I did failing at my first startup, right? Like we were building mobile games, dude. I spent like
Yeah.
200 G's in
Yeah.
a year and a half, and
Yeah.
we failed. We failed
Yeah.
spectacularly, and I hated that, but I felt so fulfilled
Yeah.
every day, dude. Just rock it up, talking to the devs, talking to the designers, dude. It was just like you, that energy. It just came back. That fire came back, and
Yeah.
I just can't see myself kind of going back to doing something that doesn't make me fulfilled, especially when it's 80% of your week, 80% of your life. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
I feel that wholeheartedly.
Dude, the other part as well, and it's funny you said failing it, like that property development project almost wiped me out. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that development company almost freaking put me in the dirt, which is
you
pretty
you got to
funny.
climb back into sales. Yeah, you got to grow back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was one of those really important business lessons for me, man, because it taught like every one of these cock ups that I had, I always took a lesson from it. And the
yeah,
lesson I took away from it is pick a business model that does for your first business that doesn't require a shit ton of upfront capital, a shit ton of
mm,
risk, and you have some sort of way to generate a no money down easy acquisition system, i.e some sort of cold outbound engine that can bring cash in,
mm,
and you have like a business that is actually self-sustaining. Like for the first business, I was like, why am I doing something so hard and taking the hardest possible route? Because, property development it's kind of like building like a proper tech startup, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
pump a whole bunch of
A
cash.
lot of capital, dude. A lot of
You got to go
capital.
get funding. You got to
Yeah,
take on all the risk. You don't even know if this thing's going to freaking work. Like, and I think that traditional model is broken, but that's why I
mm,
was like, okay, I'm really glad I almost got bankrupted by my first business
mm,
in the property industry in Australia, which is a hard place to play in,
yeah,
to then learning that lesson of pick a business that has, ideally services, it doesn't need to be the most scalable thing, but it can be a cash engine that you can actually just, continually spit out cash. And so, man, like that was just like, I'm glad that almost happened, right? Like, I'm really
yeah.
glad that almost happened. So yeah, it worked out to be positive in the end.
I'm glad you mentioned that as well around properties being quite hard. I think a lot of people romanticize property in Australia, and mind you, this is coming from somebody that had a portfolio of I think like three properties that have probably had capital growth of nearly a mil in total. So it's not bad. It's not crazy, but it's not bad. So I've been invested in the property market for quite some time, and general sentiment that I've been seeing from most people, especially people from the outside in, and I get it, man. I like our news, like all they do is just pump property information, but it's so romanticized.
Yes.
Like it's just yeah, it's easy. You just buy and you're gonna make money. Like, bro, in no world, in no investment is it ever that easy, right? And I think there is this, and it's a concern, and I think the data speaks to it as well. That's why there's not that many tech companies that like pumping up out of Australia. It's because everybody just wants to get into property, and they hear the cool stories where people are flipping their properties for heaps. But dude, it's hard, and if you don't know what you're doing because of
Yes.
that capital outlay you were talking about, dude, you can get burnt and you can be bankrupt fucking quick. So
Massively.
quick.
Massively, massively. And look, I know I got a bunch of mates that have made a lot of money in property.
Yeah.
I'm liquidating my entire portfolio right now, right?
Yeah.
I've got my last settlement going through in 4 days, and
Yeah.
I'm walking away with a very, very, very nice chunk of change, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that I learned with property, man, is property doesn't really teach you much.
No.
And
You're,
and
you're, you're in and you're sitting on it and then you're out.
yes,
Yeah. Unless you go full time into it mentally,
yes.
which most people don't.
They don't. Unless
Yeah.
you run it like a business, which
Correct.
means
Correct.
you're actually like you're acquiring, you're adding value, and then you're reselling or you're
Yeah.
holding and getting higher rental yield, and like
Yeah.
you're actually like managing it like a
You're doing the
business.
motions. Yeah.
Yes, but like man, if that's not the case, like property doesn't actually teach anyone anything. Like I went through the full journey similar to you.
Yeah.
I acquired three investment properties, and then I did the fourth one, which was a development acquisition. Like I've been through that journey, and don't get me wrong, I learned a lot of stuff. But if I contrast that, man, to what I have learned in 6 months of being in business full
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I only quit my corporate job in January.
Yeah.
Me and my business partner only moved to Vietnam in March, and
Yeah.
technically that was when he was full time in the business, and we were able to like properly go all in on the business together. The amount that I have learned in 6 months, dude, just
Yeah.
raw capability, right?
Yeah.
From like
Yeah.
marketing to product to
Yeah.
operations to finance
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
international tax, company structuring. Like I'm like this actual asset. Like that's an
Yeah.
actual asset. Like
Yeah.
property, man, is just, yeah, you punch
Yeah.
a bunch of money in, and then you just sit around,
Yeah.
and then suddenly, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I've now got $500,000 that
Yeah.
I can, once I sell, I can pull that money out. Like it's
Yeah.
like there's no real skill,
That's right. That's
right?
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You get a buyer's agent as well, right? And you
yeah,
don't do any diligence at all, right? You buy, you hold, you go have a couple of coffees, you go out with your friends, you go on a nice European holiday, and you come back and booyah.
yeah.
That's
Suddenly,
that is romanticized though, because it could go booyah the opposite way as well. Dude, you made some really solid points though, and so kind of tying into what you were saying before about businesses. So when you kind of carved out what you're doing today, right? You did a lot of research, you know the markets, you looked at opportunities, trends. You mentioned earlier about looking at businesses where there's less of a cash outlay and you can kind of make like a money making machine, right?
yeah.
I guess expand on that a little bit more, and I want to see how you think about this in the future of entrepreneurship, because I think this is a new paradigm. It's a new way of thinking that people who are, I'd say, the majority of the people who are like 35 plus are
Yeah.
probably not really thinking about this in the level of detail that you probably are.
I stumbled across this kind of by accident because so I just kind of will step back for a second. What
Yep.
you're describing, man, is this idea of like what is the right vehicle,
Yep.
right? And so where actually, dude, a lot of people get tripped up. I see a lot of super ambitious people that I know that they don't see any vehicle outside of corporate or property, right? And
Okay.
so
It's a mindset
what
thing.
yeah, and so they're kind of like, what do I like? They're really energetic and ambitious, but they're like, where do I go? What do I
Mm,
do? Like, how do I generate this future that I want?
mm,
And man, like I got lucky because thankfully landed in sales accidentally because I
mm.
studied something completely
Yeah,
different.
like everybody else.
I'm not-
Yeah,
like,
yeah, everyone else. No one goes to study and say, I want to be a DJ sales rep.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, and it's like, do you want to get kicked in the face a bunch of times and then make a
Yeah.
bunch of money at the end of it? Like, sure, why not?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so like landing in sales was the first vehicle where I'm like, oh, okay, cool, right? Like I thought 100 grand was a lot, but by the time I was 23, I banked 160 because I'm
Mm,
like,
mm.
okay, wow, like this is a cool vehicle.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was like property. Then I was like, oh, this is a really interesting vehicle.
Mm,
Maybe this will take me to financial freedom. So
mm,
my
mm.
original plan was to buy 20 investment
Yeah,
properties
yeah.
across like 10 years and then whittle it down to 10 and then live off the cash flow.
You
But
speak.
then
It's after you've spoken to a what is it, a broker, right?
yeah,
That's the plan they draw out for you,
yes,
Joe. Here's the plan. You're gonna buy 10 properties. You're gonna
yeah,
sell the first four, right?
yeah,
You're gonna put it. Sorry, you're gonna sell the last four after a couple of years. You're gonna pay down your first couple, and you're gonna
yeah.
be living. That is the roadmap for every property
Every,
investor.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah,
Pretty quickly, I was like, hold on, you give this roadmap to everyone because
yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense to you.
yeah, yeah.
But no, shout out to my broker. He's fantastic.
Yep.
He's got me out of many pinches. But yeah, but that was my second vehicle. But
Mm,
the third vehicle, man, was when I realized actually the best vehicle is
mm,
business. And that's what led me to kind of like try to figure this out. But to that question that you asked, dude, I love this idea now of businesses that I can wrap with as little capital as possible,
mm,
ideally like 5 figures max, 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 rapidly scale, find no money down systems for client acquisition, right? And that looks like, man, we have so many different ways we can do this now.
mm.
Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube,
Yeah.
combination of all three. Like you can stitch no money down systems for client
Mm,
acquisition where you're not using paid ads, you're
mm,
not using paid acquisition. like you can literally stitch this together where you can have a business up and running for next to nothing capital and literally pull clients in and start generating cash. And even with SaaS, like even with tech now, like with, with low code, no code, I haven't forayed into this, but I actually got a close friend of mine who's also a bit of a mentor who's spun up a really interesting piece of software.
Yeah.
And he's done it for like a moderate 5-figure sum, nothing too crazy,
Yeah.
right? Now, that is a bit of capital investment, but he
Right.
spun it up. And the good thing is he's got an existing services business that he's got a massive mailing list. So
Yep.
he did the playbook of build a no money down services business, which is just IP, right? And he scaled that over a few years. Now he's got a massive mailing list, and now he's just put a software product together, and
Yep.
now he's got an existing audience. He's already closing revenue off that, and he's got a
Yeah.
nice little MRR business spinning up over there, right?
Nice.
In terms of monthly recurring. So this is what I mean. I'm like, we live in this like dystopian cool world now where if someone wants to go find the answers. And I'm not, man, I'm not from this world. Like I'm
Yeah.
only 6 months into real entrepreneurship because I'm not counting my property development as real entrepreneurship. There is so much like leverage, man, but
Yeah.
people don't see it, and
Yeah.
I'm part of me is also like, hey, I don't want too many people to see this, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Right now, I think the algorithm is helping us.
Yes.
But you're right. There is the majority of the people who have zero awareness of the opportunity that's out there for them, and yeah, I guess you're right. You kind of want to keep it that way just for a little bit longer, so you can
Yeah.
capitalize on it.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's literally like man, like we're going a tiny little tangent, but I wanted to just share this point. Like I'm reading this book right now, which it's this book called Reality Transurfing,
Okay.
and I recommend it for like anyone that likes this idea or has this idea of like consciously creating reality, man. And like I genuinely believe, man, we live in a time right now that with the internet, with social media, with AI, with all these platforms, with all this tech, the only thing, man, that we actually like limit ourselves with is our capacity to imagine something.
Mm,
Like this was
agreed.
literally what allowed me to spark Tech Sales U, because I had a friend of mine who's like a little brother to me who incessantly would fucking annoy me. Every quarter, he'd be like, Joe, can you like, mentor me on tech sales? Can you teach me tech sales? I want to be like you. And I'm like, no, I'm just busy. I'm busy.
Mm.
I'm busy. And one day I stopped after I shut down my property development company. And I'm like, I wonder if he'd pay me for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I called him and I was like, what do you need? And he was like, man, if you could do this, this, and this. And I spun up an offer on the spot and I was just
Right.
like, okay, well, what if I did this with you and this with you? And I filmed a bunch of stuff and I got that across to you. What would that be worth to you? And he was like, I mean, if like it's if could I pay you like $1,000 a month? And I'm like, sure. And he was like, okay, let's do that. And I was like, how long would you want to work with me for? And he's like, 3 months. I'm like, sure. And that was my first paying client, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I literally just went, right, I have a client. I don't quite have a product, but I have all these ideas
Yep.
and all
Yep.
this IP floating around. Can I
Yep.
just bring that all together and just create something? And that was
Yeah.
version one of my program. And
Yeah.
he was the first client. And then we tested, we iterated, I did a lot of initial delivery, figured things out. Okay, this works, that doesn't. Created a lot of assets, created a lot of collateral, and then just reached out to my personal network, right? And I was like, hey, who else needs help? And 3 other guys were like, yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was like the start of the business, man. And all of that, dude, comes back to that idea of just like reality transurfing. Is just going. I remember I stopped and I'm like, okay, I have technically on paper this like amazing life,
Mm.
but I feel unfulfilled. So what do I
Mm.
want? I would love to live in a cool country. I would love to be on my own time. I would love
Mm.
to work on only what I want to work on. I don't
Yep.
want to report to anyone. I would love to make money through the internet. I would love
Yep.
to have a business that can operate anywhere in the world. And I would like to be healthy, energized, vibrant, and just
Mm.
thriving and living the life that I want to live. Can I do that? And I was like, let me just articulate it, And I
Mm.
remember just kind of sitting there in 2024 and just kind of writing all these things out. And I'm like, okay, well, like that's the destination. That's the reality I want to craft.
Yeah.
How do I get there? And then it was just the process of reverse engineering, man, and I'm like, I'm a big believer, dude. Like, it's like we can like create these realities, and now is literally the best time to do it. Like
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
not gonna, well, it will get better, but then it will eventually drop off. Like now is like the,
It will significantly saturate as well.
yes,
We're at a
yes.
prime time to capitalize. I think, why do you think people are so limited with where they see reality, and they're so blinded from all the opportunities that are available to them? Because, dude, hearing you say that, I have to agree with you. And I hate to be that guy that just agrees, on a show like completely, but I guess that's why we were close when we were at Ghana,
Yeah.
right? But look, dude, what you say like completely makes sense. That the timing of it, the tech, the availability, and the most important thing, the mindset, and actually how narrow-minded everybody is. Not in a negative sense. It's just not having that awareness or the expansion of thought of what is actually possible. So maybe going back, what do you think people just don't have that bone in them?
Dude, we all do. I think there's two things, and man, I've been through this journey of addressing those two
Mm,
things, so I kind of like speak from being on the other side now. The first one, man, is overconsumption. Like we get
mm,
fed so much, like we are literally at the mercy of these algorithms. Like
mm.
I love and hate the algorithms. Like
Yeah,
I love them when
yeah,
they work for me. I hate them when they try to hijack my brain.
yeah.
And so part of that, man, is I have social media, but I try to avoid it like the plague,
Mm,
right? Like if I post and I'm off.
mm,
On LinkedIn, I purely use it for business purposes. On YouTube, I've tuned my algorithm by liking and unliking certain
mm.
videos to make sure that
Yeah,
it only feeds me what I want. Because like the algorithm, man, was what actually allowed me to create my business, because I
yeah,
remember I stumbled across a guy's video who had actually created a trading education business
yeah,
teaching people how to trade. He'd scaled it to about 800K a month, and then he sold it to private equity. And I stopped
yeah,
and I was like, an info business can be scaled and exited. I'm like, that's interesting.
yeah,
I'm like, I want to watch this.
yeah,
And I remember that video, man, was an example of when the algorithm helped me.
yeah.
But I steer clear of the algorithm when it comes to politics, when it comes to, is what's happening in certain parts of the world terrible right now? Yes. But
Mm.
do I want to watch that?
No,
No, I
yeah,
don't. I
yeah,
really don't. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to feed my mind that stuff, because that is the kind of consumption that stops my like supercomputer, which is my brain, from working. And like everyone, man, has a literal supercomputer in their head. It's just we don't use it. Like try this, right? Like, and you and I both know this, but for anyone watching, it's like unplug from social media and unplug from everything for a day, and just see what happens when your brain can actually just rest and
yeah.
ideas can start to come to you. And you're like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do this. Like, oh, isn't that interesting? It's like, oh, where are
Mm.
these ideas coming from? And it's like when we actually give our brain some time to breathe, like good things happen, man. So one was consumption. The other part, dude, is limiting beliefs, conditioning. Yeah, it's definitely conditioning. Like we get conditioned. I was conditioned for the longest time. And I'll tell you how my conditioning broke. I got around different people. So
Mm.
I met a guy called Steve. Steve was an absolute legend in Sydney. He ran a group, a networking group called Lux VIP Events. And I saw it on social media, and I was like, I want to join up. I want to go to one of these events. I want to like
Mm.
that. I knew a friend of mine who was a legit operator who was at one of these events, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
If he goes,
yeah.
that must be good. So I'm gonna go. And man, I went, and I will never forget. This was pretty recently too. This was actually in early 2024 before I went, like, around mid 2024 was when I really started to take tech sales you seriously. But I remember I was at this event, and on the topic of limiting beliefs, this is when my limiting beliefs got crushed and just removed. Is I saw people that were doing amazing things. I literally spoke to them,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And I remember first conversation I had, sharp looking guy. He must have been 36, 37, sharp, right?
Mm.
Dressed well, few words. And I was like, hey, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I angel invest. And I'm like, what did you exit? You must have exited something to have the capital stack to angel invest. And he was kind of like, for a second, he was kind of like
Yeah.
quiet about it. And then he was like, Zambrero. And I'm like, burritos? He's like,
Oh
yeah.
shit.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean Zambrero? He's like, I used to be the CEO. And I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking to like, as far as
Yeah.
Australia goes, like of course there's levels to the game. I got a friend in New
Yep.
York and there's real levels to the game
Yep.
there.
Yep.
But I was like, oh, you're a killer. Like you're an
Yeah.
actual heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And then another guy came in, man, and he was 33, right? And I was 31 at the time.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I got this like audio lighting company. I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like, so what do you guys do? And he's like, just yeah, outfits, this and that. I'm like, yeah, tell me more. Very
Yeah.
nonchalant. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like what kind of stuff? And he's like, airports, stadiums. I'm like, okay, that's commercial. That's pretty
Yeah.
decent size. He's like,
Starting to
yeah.
get bigger. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of airports commercial? He's like, yeah, we've done Qatar. We've got Qatar Stadium. And I'm like, wait, how big is your business? He's like, oh, I got about 160 staff. We got about, 3 countries. I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, tell me a story. And he's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
started with one truck when I was in my early 20s. And I was like, okay. I met another girl who, I'll be honest, she was extremely attractive. So that's why I
Mm.
went and said hello.
Right. Right.
But, I was like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I've got an app development company. I'm like, interesting. Tell me more. She's like, yeah, I've got a technical founder. I'm the brand. I'm the face. I go get the deals. We're a multi-million dollar company. And I was like, how old are you? And she's like, 27. And I was like, are you from a tech background? She's like, no, I used to be a PT several years ago. I learned to network, learned to sell. I'm hot. Just got out there and found a technical co-founder. Bam, team, execute, make shit
Yeah.
happen. And I'm like, and I remember, man, I remember driving back home that night
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was the quietest car ride.
Yeah.
And I was driving back home and it was a beautiful night and I was in perfect health and I had everything to be happy about. I was pissed the fuck.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was angry.
Like,
I
what the
was
fuck have I been
so
doing?
angry. And I remember
Yeah.
going back to like, and man, out of all my friends at the time, they were like astounded at how successful I was. They're like, whoa, you're 31 and you own
Yeah.
multiple properties and you live by yourself and you drive a nice car. And like, and
Yeah.
I was angry,
Yeah. Yeah.
like so angry and seething at my
Yeah.
core. And I remember I was like, I'm really glad I met these people
Yeah.
because dude, there's one of two ways to take a moment like that. A lot of people take that and they go, "Fuck them. I don't care. Like I'm all the top shit."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, "You're being out competed right now." Like
Yeah.
I remember just looking at myself and I'm like, "You're not taking nearly enough risk as you should. You're
Yeah.
playing too small. You're wedded." I was literally telling this to myself. I'm like, "You are attached to your life right now. You are attached to
Yes.
this apartment. You're attached to you're attached to your weekends. You're attached to, thinking you're some like hotshot playboy tech sales guy. Like
Yeah.
you're attached to your current identity." I literally like roasted myself and
Yeah.
I'm like, I literally told myself in the mirror, I'm like, you are playing so small
Yeah.
and you are getting a mirror put to your face, like
Yeah.
step up. Like I remember just telling myself, I'm like, step up, cut the limiting beliefs. If they can do it, you absolutely can. They are no smarter than you. You can work hard. Your only defining factor, Joe, is risk. You're not taking enough risk. I literally told myself that. And then it was just like this shift, man. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm going all in, planning my exit fully out of corporate,
Mm.
and I'm going all in on this thing and I'm foregoing my comfortable, cushy life that many people would have given an arm and a leg for. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
letting all that go because it means nothing to me.
Yeah. Dude, it's an absolutely amazing story because I think it throws in some of these core themes that very successful people have always spoken about, right? You are a product of your environment,
Yeah.
right? Being a big fish in a small pond,
Yeah.
or like being so attached to an identity that you've created at an early age.
Yes.
All of those things play a role in pretty much the story that you've just shared. I can attest to growing up in Southwest Sydney, dude, that like ceiling is like there, but everybody thinks they're there and they've made it. And I feel like, so I'm extremely grateful that, I started working in the CBD and I started working with super smart people, right? For me, one of the biggest things is I've actually had him on my podcast as well. Raj, he's the CEO of the Martech. He raised a couple of years ago like 8 point something million. And when you start talking to these people, you start interacting with them more, right? They become a part of your circle.
Yeah.
It opens your mind, right? Like, dude, what have I been doing?
Yes.
Where am I? Like this is so different. And they're very nonchalant and they're telling you can do it. Like,
Yes.
dude, anyone can do it. Anyone can
Yes.
do it. Like what, and it just tells you, like, what are you doing?
Yes.
A point that you made that also hits home really well, and I think like people don't talk about this, is how people like extract, those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
Do you go home and do you go, fuck, these guys were losers? These guys were show-offs. I know what I'm doing. I'm sweet. Or can you take a real hard look at yourself
Yeah.
objectively, right? And then come to a conclusion doing that. Because I'd say 9 out of 10 times, objectively, you doing that, looking in the mirror, thinking about the people you've interacted with, right? Their demographic, which is probably the same demographic, if not younger than you, right? Where they're at and what you're doing and how you feel about your identity. And that last part is the biggest one,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Most people will realize, holy shit, there is just so much more out there
Yeah.
that's untapped.
Yes.
Dude, it's a game changer. Those game changer moments are huge, and
Man.
I don't know if there is a method to the madness. I guess there is. Putting yourself out there, seeing more people, going to these events that make you a little bit uncomfortable. Those are the little things that you can do to get there. But yeah, when you get those moments, that's it. That's the thing that's going to change your mind and change your life.
Yeah, man, you know what it is, dude? I think it's really important to search. Like if, it's like, as corny as it sounds, it's like, man, if you search, you shall find. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
whole kind of like ask and you shall receive. It's like,
yeah,
man, it's so true. Like just search. Just
yeah,
go, okay, look, I'm curious. If I wasn't curious, I probably would have never found half the things that I found. But
mm,
it's like, I think that curiosity, man, right? Just
yeah,
being willing to be curious. And the other part, dude, is just willing to suck. Like, you know
yeah,
what? Like listening to that story of Raj, I'm like, wow,
yeah,
that's fantastic. I'd love to do that one day,
yeah,
right? Like I'm a baby entrepreneur.
yeah,
I'm back at the bottom of the totem pole in probably the biggest pond,
mm,
and I'm totally okay with it.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
baby entrepreneur with a baby services business that is new to market. We've only just started acquiring, our first volley of cold clients because we're moving out of referral land into
mm,
cold acquisition, and we've just started to achieve some success there. We're like I'm cool with that. Like
yeah,
I'm like I don't like I think I've reached the point where I don't like get threatened when I meet these like really
mm,
high level guys. I'm like, man, like you were probably where I was one time
mm,
too, right? And it's just like just being cool with that and just
yeah,
being cool with just be humble about the journey, man.
yeah,
Like I think I for the longest time was so afraid to suck
yeah,
at a new journey that
yeah,
I didn't even start the journey.
yeah,
And finally one day, like I'm glad that night happened
yeah,
because that was like I just got like slapped, that was like the
mm,
perfect backhand by life.
yeah,
Just putting the mirror to my face and just being like, choose. You
yeah,
want to live
yeah,
like this? You're like, do you want to get to
uh,
80 and have regrets?
yeah,
And then I've become one of those people that's like bitter, like I've
yeah,
met people like that. We knew some people like that in corporate where we're just
yeah,
like, why are you so bitter? And it's
yeah,
like, oh, because the world has passed you by, like
yeah,
because
that's right.
opportunities have passed you by,
Yeah.
and I remind you of what you could have been. So if
Yeah.
you hate me,
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, but
and
you really hate yourself.
you really hate
But you see
yourself.
me, yeah.
And man, like, I remember like I
Yeah,
met people like that all through my sales career,
yeah,
and I just went, I never I never want to be like you,
yeah,
buddy.
That's
you know,
right. Yeah.
like, and if it means taking the hardest possible road,
Yeah.
I'd rather take the hardest possible road
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
you.
Old and bitter like you. Yeah. I think okay, I think the takeaway here is you don't want to be old and bitter, but more importantly, be curious, but drop the ego when you're
Yeah,
being curious. Dude, drop that ego. Otherwise everything's just gonna go out the other ear.
yeah,
Right. And that's the biggest thing as well, like on top of that, once you realize and you drop the ego and you're there to learn, you realize that the majority of the people, they are happy to help you. They are
yes,
happy to have a conversation. No one's sitting there and going, I'm not going to tell you how I scaled to 10 million.
yeah,
Dude, they will lay it out. They're like, yeah, this is
yes,
my story, bro. This is what I've done. This is who I've spoken to. This is what you need to do. Right? But if you are too stubborn to kind of take that information in and receive it and say, this is just the typical jumble bullshit that I hear online. It's BS. It's not real. I know what I'm doing.
yeah,
Then that's on you.
yeah. Yeah, man, it's just like getting rid of the old identity,
Yeah.
and like, man, the old identity, like my old identity didn't change until I experienced enough pain, frustration,
Mm.
and getting humbled by life,
Yeah.
and until I was willing to take those things and look in the mirror, like nothing changed, and the
Yeah.
moment I did, and I decided to be intentional, like, that idea of reality transurfing, like we
Yeah.
can literally bend and mold like reality if we're intentional about where we want to go and the actions to get us
Mm.
there. And then the rest, man, it just goes back to that thing that I said at the start, right? It's just like we both know this fucking flat out refusing to quit,
Yeah.
just keeping that vision and going, can I just keep plugging away, right? And suddenly like mentors will come in and like
Yeah.
advice will come in and good things will happen. It's just like that's just the journey, dude. But that's been, yeah, that's like in the nutshell, man. We're kind of bringing it, tying it off, like
Yeah.
in a nutshell, dude. That's been this kind of wild ride that I've been on.
Yeah. 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 That's absolutely fantastic. Dude, I'm gonna wrap this up with a couple of quick fire questions,
Yep.
right? And so I've got two questions for you. So the audience can essentially skip to this segment and just get immediately quick take home insights. Now, today's full conversation was absolutely valuable, but if we can kind of go super tight here, let's see where we go. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. The first one here. So, what do you think is the most important skill, trait, or experience that every founder or even somebody that's aspiring to become a founder or an entrepreneur should have in their toolbox that's going to set them up?
Yep. Roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty. Yeah, that's the biggest one for me, man. Like dive in and learn something new. Like, like that's literally just been the process that me and my business partner have both been on, right? Like we don't know go high level CRM. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how funnels worked. I didn't know how cold acquisition worked. I didn't know how to use LinkedIn like a revenue engine.
Mm,
I didn't know half the things I know about client management and scaling delivery now.
mm,
Like it just roll your sleeves up. Okay, cool. We have AI, we have a whole bunch of stuff out there, we have tools, we have mentors. Let's just go start rolling sleeves up and figuring it out, right? Get your hands dirty,
yeah.
get in the muck. Be a technical entrepreneur. Don't be
Mm.
like, some strategic, yeah, I just stand on a mountain and I look at the distance. So man, like you be dynamic, be able to do everything and be willing to do everything.
That sounds like madness, but is there a method to the madness?
Yeah, the method is begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
So like whatever it is that I'm trying to do, again, man, I'm new to this world. I'm learning this shit
Yeah. Yep.
very rapidly, but begin with the end in mind, right? So it's like if I'm building something like right now we're uplifting our cold DM engine on
Yep.
LinkedIn because right now I'm tied too closely to my business partner,
Mm-hmm.
because we're both handling this process together and
Yep.
I need to fire myself from that process. Well, the end in mind, man, is I need to be fully removed from that process. And I
Yep.
basically just reverse engineer off the back of that. So this is the shit we don't get taught how to think, how to reverse engineer.
Mm.
Anything can be hacked. Anything can be reverse engineered. Anything can be worked back from. You just need to know what we're trying to work back from and then just kind of sequentially go one step back, one step back, one step back and go, cool, that's my roadmap. That's the method.
That's an absolutely perfect way of explaining how to be systematic. And I'm going to tie this back to something that you said earlier around unplugging. I genuinely believe that 90% of the people who can't break down these systematic processes and think for themselves is because they're so plugged in with social media today.
Yeah.
Our generation, yes. Next generation, so much more,
Yeah.
right? If you can shut off everything around you, give yourself that day or even that hour, dude. Like just switch off the music, switch out, like put your phone away, and just think about three things that you need to do, and just think critically about it. Dude, you will be able to build out these plans where you can programmatically work your way towards those end goals that you're talking about.
Yep.
And it's like it's just such a it's so simple, but it's so, because of the algorithms, because of these social media machines.
Yep.
It is the simplest thing, but it's the hardest thing for so many people. And it sounds so silly to say, but I can point out to like five of my friends right now that just can't unplug when they
Yep.
need to unplug. So I think that's so important.
Yep.
All right, second question for you specifically, Joe. What was the most underrated advice? Like, if you and think about it for a second, what was the most underrated advice that you have ever received that was next level or changed your life and the way that you think?
Yeah. Um, Write down everything that is bothering me or creating regret in my life on a piece of paper and
Okay.
systematically eliminate those things.
Okay. Give me like a prime example. If I had my notebook now and
Yep.
I'm gonna start writing out some things that
Yeah.
hurts me.
Yep.
Tell me what that looks like.
Cool.
What's the prompt?
Man, like, so if I asked you that question right
Yeah.
now, don't tell me the answer, but you'll know, dude, is there three things in your life that causes you regret? You're like, I know I shouldn't do that. I know I
Mm,
should have that conversation. I know I should bridge that relationship. I know I should take that action. I'm being a loser right now, not doing that. Would
yeah.
you have a couple of
A,
things?
a lot. Immediately. Things that just like sit deep
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah. Um, Anthony, man, if I ask myself that question right now, there is only one thing on that list. If I'm really nitpicking, yeah, there's actually just one thing that has a couple of sub things under
Hmm.
it, which is actively getting like decimated in real
Right.
time. That's all that's on my list. Man, the biggest thing that I've realized is if I can live as close as possible to not having regret,
Yeah.
then I will live a fantastic life. And like what that looks like, man, is okay, am I out of shape? That's regret. I don't want to be that. I don't want to feel that. Am I in a corporate job that is sucking my soul and I should really start that business
Yeah.
and that is causing me massive regret and that
Yeah.
is causing me to escape? I should tackle that. Am I in a relationship that I feel dead and uninspired in? That I'm, a lot of guys, man, this is a hard hitting one. Like
Yeah.
I know some guys, dude, right now that follow OnlyFans girls that have wives and girlfriends. I know one guy who follows this one chick, because she's friends with another guy that I know, and I just got curious because I was like, oh, you have shared connections, and
Right. Right.
I just tapped on her profile and I looked at it and I'm like, really? I'm like, man, you got kids. What are you doing following this girl, right?
Right. Right.
And that's a good example, man, of someone being
Yeah.
in a dead relationship and they don't feel inspired and they feel regret, but they don't want to change. They
Mm,
don't want to take that action. They don't want to get help. They don't want to improve. They don't want to maybe have a really hard conversation with their partner and say, "Hey, baby, the intimacy's gone, and
mm,
I'm looking at things that I shouldn't, and I feel terrible about it, and I don't want to feel that. Like, can we work through this?" That, bro, is the hard way to live, and I learned that, man, several years ago when I remember I used to do this subconsciously, but I put words to it. David Goggins, man, right or wrong, controversial guy, but he said, whatever is causing me troubles or whatever is causing me problems, I get after it. And I try to just live like that, bro. I just like whatever's causing me problems, I'll just write it down. I go, this is pissing me the fuck off. I want to eliminate this thing from my life so that I feel congruent and I'm just in line again and I just get after it.
What is the hardest thing by doing that? Because I can already feel that you can already tell how rewarding it would be to be able to cross it off. But there is a mental barrier there. All
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Try to explain that to us.
Yeah. Bro, I'm getting chills thinking about this and I get emotional thinking about
Yeah.
this. Man, we will be 90 one day.
Yeah.
We will be too tired to do anything and we will regret it. I'm actually getting emotional right now. Like this is something that like it brings like
Mm,
deep emotion to me. This
mm,
idea of like soul crushing regret,
mm.
man. soul crushing regret because we left questions unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
We had conversations unhad.
Mm-hmm.
We had dreams unfulfilled. That is soul crushing, brother. And one day we will both be 90 years old on our deathbeds, and we will have nothing but frail bodies, half emptied minds because it's gone, and just regret. And I pray to God, like when I'm crossing to the other side, that my last thoughts are, I didn't live the life that I could have lived. That would fucking crush me, dude.
Yeah.
And if it means walking the hardest possible route,
Yeah.
Anthony, man, I have sacrificed so much in the
Yeah.
last few years. I have burnt relationships. I have ended friendships. I have nearly bankrupted myself. I have worked myself to pure exhaustion, taken wild gambles, just done things that I did not have to do.
Mm.
I could have very easily stayed comfortable and
Yep.
fuck, I had a good life, man. Like I
Yeah.
had like yeah, probably one of the most comfortable lives that most guys would have gone, you gave that up? Like
Yeah.
you gave up the opportunity to live like that and drive that car and make that money and be that comfortable and have those kind of women in your life and have that
Yeah.
kind of social options and mobility. Like you gave all of that up. I'm like, yes, because the last thing I want is to be that 90-year-old dude and
Yeah.
feel soul crushing regret. I would rather play all out and like cross those things off my piece of paper
Yep.
than get to the end and say, fuck, I had an unlived life.
Yeah, it's man, it's like two things that intertwine with each other. It's being able to live a life of fulfillment. So your life on paper sounded perfect, right? But you weren't fulfilled. And that was soul crushing. And then number two, it's the things that you have not done, the things that you have not said, you weren't able to say, which means that you'd live with that regret forever if you never action on it.
Yeah.
And so I guess, and you know, I understand this quite well. Like when I think about it, like no matter how hard a conversation might be, or how hard an action may be to cross something off, it's never going to be as hard as if you were like 80, 90 in your death. So you're 90 because you're healthy. I'm probably going to be there, mate. So I've got a shorter time here. I'll be laying there and I'll have a list of things that I regret not doing, not saying,
Yeah.
whatever, and that triumphs these
Yeah.
little things that I have to do. That might be a little bit challenging in the
Yeah.
moment. So I hear
Yeah.
that. I hear that completely.
Yeah. Man, I'll just give you one little example of this. When I was 20, I got presented an opportunity to either stay in a relationship that was just not for me,
Mm,
and she wanted me to be someone that I just wasn't, was
mm,
never going to be, was never wanted to be, but I was going to do it out of just comfort and
mm,
ease, out of fear, out of, well, I don't know if there's something better out there for me. Maybe I'll just stick. And I still remember, man, like I'm so glad that like I did not do that because you and I would not be having this conversation.
yeah.
I'd probably be married in an unfulfilled relationship with a couple of kids right now. That's how people end up trapped, dude, is that it's like that screaming voice in our mind that says, don't do it, don't do it,
Mm,
don't do it, get out of this, don't
uh,
do this, pursue that dream, don't do this, man. You should do something greater, you should be greater,
yeah.
you don't have to be here. Like that screaming
Yeah.
voice, we don't listen to it sometimes. I'm just glad I listened to mine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's basically it. Listen to that screaming voice, man, because that voice is trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you mute that voice, then you're just going to be going through the motions like everybody else, and you're going to
Yeah.
be bitter and sad and looking at that next 20 something year old that has his life together, and you're going to say, I hate you.
Yes. Yeah. I hate you, but really,
Yeah,
I
hey,
hate
yeah, hey, me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I want to wrap it up with kind of like a final plug because we've spoken quite a lot around kind of philosophical thoughts. We've spoken about your journey, career, you know, what people need to be considering for their own personal as well as kind of entrepreneurial growth. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing like today, Joe. Like you mentioned it, you alluded to it. Tech sells you. Tell us what why you do it, and you know.
Yeah. Well, at its core, man, like tech sales, selling software, selling services, dude, it's changed my life, right?
Mm,
Like it is probably one of the most dynamic, fun, lucrative careers. It's the closest thing you'll get to entrepreneurship if you're in corporate.
Yep.
And it's probably the most amount of money you can. Myself, I know it. It's freaking amazing. I genuinely believe probably the three careers that can make the most would probably be high finance,
Mm,
right? If you're like in private equity or you're really up there, investment banking, that sort of thing. You're in software sales because, again, medical sales doesn't make the same amount of money. A lot of other sales just don't have the margin. Software does. So your
mhm,
commission rates are insane. Or man is probably like, going into like private medical, but then you got to sink 10 years plus of
mm,
your life into education. So what's the quickest route to get to the market and start making serious cash? Is software sales, man. So I love tech sales, and that's really what drove me to start this business. The biggest thing that I saw, dude, was people were washing out. The first 5 years of their
mm,
career were brutal. I know how brutal it was. You know how brutal it was,
mm,
right? Like we've sold in barren wastelands,
mm,
where you got chopped up territories and you're
mm,
struggling and you've been thrown to the wolves. And like, yeah, so I just think the hardest time is the first 5 years. And that's what I was able to navigate really well and be quite successful at. That helped me be successful later. So I decided to just solve my own problem, man, for others, right? And I just went out to the market and said, hey, you within your first 5 years? Yeah. Are you struggling with all this? Yeah. How'd you know that? Because you're me. Like
mm.
you're just the younger version of me, right? And that's all my business does, man, is I solve problems for the younger versions of me. And right now we do B2C. We'll soon do B2B. We've actually just figured out what that model looks like, but we haven't launched it just yet. And long-term aspirations, man, is continue to scale out the education side, do more corporate stuff, as well as B2C. And then once we feel we have critical mass, we'll probably launch some sort of software product directly for our audience in some way, shape, or form to help them sell more effectively. But that's still shaping up. We'll see what that looks like in a few years. And maybe, who knows, we might go into some agency type play as well,
Yeah.
intersecting between go to market and tech. I see there's a real potential there as well. And eventually, man, might look at an exit, right? So
Yep.
that's the play for now. Things change dynamically, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's tells you in a nutshell, man, in terms of who we help right now.
That's amazing. Tell me a little bit more about tech sales you from a content perspective, because there is something here that like I call, of course, because coming from sales, I understand the challenges quite well. We're not just talking about sales training. There's so much more to it, right? You need to know how to navigate like the different environments, the people, the teams. Like it's not just the sales, it's tech. It's everything. Explain to us how you help somebody at Tech Sells You. Like what content is it? How does it help them?
Yeah. Well, dude, at the end of the day, like software sales or tech sales in general just boils down to four things, which is finding, progressing, closing, and upselling. That's really the core of like the
Mm,
skill set bubble, right? So if you imagine like one circle, you have those four things in there: find, progress, close, upsell. That's skill set. The second part of being successful at tech salesman is what I like to call operations, right? And operations looks like technology and operating rhythm. So that's kind of the second circle around that. So
yep.
how do you now sell in this dynamic environment where you can use technology as well as using the effective operating rhythm so that you can actually operate your little franchise? And
Yep.
then the last part, man, is mindset, right? That's
Mm,
staying the course. That's the duration of the
yeah.
journey. And that's pretty much what I do for guys at the moment, dude,
Yeah.
for my audience, right? Is we basically go, right, you need skill set, find, progress, close, upsell.
Mm,
You need operations, which is technology and habits, and then you need the mindset.
yep.
And we
Yep.
basically go inside out, right? And that's kind of the framework of how we deliver transformational change. And in the future, we'll do the same thing with probably an added layer on the outside, which is strategy, right?
Yep.
And that will be for businesses, right? But it's not rocket science. The hard part, man, is the implementation. It's
Mm,
like that messy middle of
yeah.
staying with people during the change. And it's the same thing that'll be for businesses as well.
I really like that model because it means that, if the majority of the people, they'll need all three, right? They need to understand all aspects of this to be successful. But if I'm coming in 3 years in my sales career, I probably have something that's down pat, and that's why I've been successful for the last
Yep.
3 years. But I am missing two of three or one of three, and then so I can enhance myself there. And of
Yep.
course, even the guys who've like been in sales for 10 years, I've spoken to like really really good salespeople. They're always trying to find a way to upskill themselves, and so
Yep.
there's always going to be something there across the three areas, the three pillars that they're going to get value out of as well. And
Exactly.
again, I can say this like easily because I used to be in sales. And so it's not just me going, oh, hey, I know Joe, so tech sales you is the way you need to go. It's, dude, I've been there, done that. And those challenges, dude, they are prominent. Like they are so prominent. And it is the difference between you being able to close a shitty like 5K deal versus being able to close a big whale and taking home that couple 100K commission. Honestly,
Yep.
that little thing, that
Yep.
1% is the thing.
Yeah. Dude, it's the only reason I was able to close a $1.2 million deal versus when I started in tech sales, I like, prior to Gartner, I was selling, I mean, yeah, 5K deals, 4K deals, freaking $300 deals, right?
Yeah,
If you told me that, like, yeah, one day you're going to do a 5-year piece of business, complex healthcare transformation is going to be multi-million dollars, multi-stakeholder, multiple
yeah,
partners, like,
yeah,
I'd be like, really? Is that
yeah,
possible? It's just capability, man.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
capability and experience and mentorship. I had great mentorship at the time
yeah,
too. I had an external mentor. I worked with Tony Hughes, right?
yeah,
Who's like sales OG.
yep, yep.
So man, it's it's all possible. It's a matter of just staying the course and getting the help you need.
That last part that you made with mentors as well, by the way, super underrated. The exceptional people know it. Did everybody else just disregard it? And
Yeah.
it's so silly. Why are you not taking advice from people who have been there, done that, that are where you want to be? It's
Yes.
unfathomable that
Yes.
people don't consider mentors in their lives.
Yeah, man. My mindset is as soon as I learn stuff, I'm like, man, I just realize how little I still know. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh wow, like I barely know. I thought 6 months of entrepreneurship, I'd know a lot. I stopped now and I'm like, I don't know shit.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
I'm just scratching the surface. There's so many levels to this game,
yeah,
until I'm freaking Elon Musk, at the top of the entrepreneurial totem pole, I would think
yeah.
I'll always just look at it and go, I don't know shit.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. It's been what, maybe about 2 years for me now, and I'm still running a couple of initiatives where I am learning as I go. I have like a YouTube video, I have my large language model like EA, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Do some research to what the best practices are,
Yeah.
show me the programmatic steps, and let me compare what I'm doing to that because
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea what I am doing, but I'm going to continue learning as I go. And then one day I can kind of look back and reflect and say, I understood that process well. But dude, having that ongoing growth mindset, that's critical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
You too, man.
We'll give it a wrap. If they want to get in touch with you regarding tech sales view, any kind of like inquiry, what are the best ways to reach you?
Reach me on LinkedIn, give me an ad, and drop me a message.
Yep. Anything else?
Uh,
Emails?
that'll probably be the best one, man. We do have the emails and the forms and stuff, but honestly,
Yep.
I prefer to just have a personal connection. So drop me a nudge and let's have a yarn, and we'll probably set up some time.
Fantastic. You guys heard it. If you want to get in touch with Joe on Tech Sales U, reach out to him on LinkedIn, send something cheeky, and he'll get back to you. All right. Thank you so much, Joe. And mate, we'll chat later.
Done.
All right. Hey, did you guys enjoy that episode? Tune into our podcast fortnightly, where I interview extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, sharing their insights and their stories about entrepreneurship. So whether you're aspiring, whether you're already doing your own thing, or experimenting while hustling at your 9 to 5, this one is for you guys. And if you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow us on our socials below, and we'll see you next time.